Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to language for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways Podcast. I'm your keeper, Keeper Michael, and we return to Masks of Nyarlathotep in our China chapter. And so, as we like to do at the top of the show, we'd like to thank you, the listener, and especially you, the Patreon supporter. If you'd like to check out what we have to offer on Patreon, you can at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. You can also help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by heading over to YouTube and typing in the Old Ways Podcast and then hitting the subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate it. And now, with that out of the way, I'd like to get to introductions. So, to my right.
This is Tiffany, and I play Maeve O'Shea, and we were still on a boat.
The last you knew, you were still on a boat. To Miss O'Shea's right.
This is Morgan. I play Lillian Lane, and my first aid skills last episode were really lacking.
It did leave something to be desired, as I'm certain the man at the end of the table will mention.
This is Jake. I'll be playing Jack Doyle, and I'm feeling a little under the weather.
Yeah? Are you you got a little hitch in your giddy up there?
Yeah. But, I'm not dead yet.
That's true. That is very true. Time will tell. To Mr. Doyle's right.
This is Lonnie, and I'm playing Robert Drummond, and I'm reminded of the old adage, rock the boat, don't tip the boat over.
One would hope not. To Mr. Drummond's right.
This is James. I'll be playing Dr. Sigmund Tattenbach, and you're not fooling anyone, Jack. You'll be stunned in a moment.
He's certainly not fooling you, Doctor. And then last but most certainly not least.
This is Alex playing Saint-Laurent, who is walking on air.
But not walking on sunshine. That's totally different. So as we raise the curtain tonight, we are in the missing Stazi formation. I'm certain Miss Fairchild will pop up in the near future. So when last we left, our investigators were aboard the Dark Mistress, having taken it over and paid the price in doing so, some might say. Some paid more than others. But that's a tale for another time. They have a long voyage ahead of them, one which spans several hours, at least by most nautical maps that they're able to find. The one that they brought, and then the mappings that Mr. Drummond has come across in the bridge. One of the other interesting things that you've managed to come across, Mr. Drummond, is this ship has a radio. A big one. Nestled under the, the cabinets here on the bridge.
Okay, can I see what it's tuned to?
Yeah, you can see the frequency it's tuned to. In fact, it's on, which sort of begs the question, has it been used recently?
Well, if there's a radio, there must be a microphone.
There is. It's tucked up under there.
I'm going to turn that radio off.
Alrighty. You tune the knob, you hear a bit of a fuzz and squelch, and eventually click it off.
I'm going to make a note of that frequency, just for my own personal knowledge, because I doubt anybody here has any idea about that sort of thing. I want to inventory in the ship to see what we've got in the way of weapons, gadgets, things that we can use to maybe give us an edge when we hit the island.
Okay, so you're going to do that in lieu of, what, resting?
Well, I mean, if it's going to take quite a while, I'm sure I can get some rest.
I'm certain you can.
Yep. Just because I'm better off than most everybody else on here.
Yes, you likely are.
Yeah.
So you spend a few hours likely going through the ship's hold.
Yeah.
And some of the other just some of the other cubby holes in the offices and the little places where packages could be secured at. Well, there's an awful lot of, goods. You see a lot of strange objects, more machine parts. You see more statue pieces. You see some a series of wood planks that have odd inscriptions on them. You don't really understand them. And then there's a fair amount of fish.
When I see all of this stuff, I want to go back up and see if I can find the captain's log.
Mm-hmm.
See where they've been or if they were going somewhere.
So the logbook here, at least inside the Dark Mistress, is essentially blank. There's no record of it traveling back and forth and where they went or any times.
Darn it. I was hoping for a clue of where this boat was going with all this stuff.
So, Jack, you're not feeling great.
Indeed.
Last we saw you on camera, you had developed something. The doctor had tried to help you in any way he could. And that first sort of rest period that you're taking is likely only successful because of narcotics. It feels like your veins are on fire. Specifically, the harpoon wound area is very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably not doing a whole lot of moving.
No.
So I'm pretty well drugged up, huh?
I would say so. Doctor, I would imagine you're reasonably liberal with the medicinal
Yes. Doc is keeping Jack in a nice, not exactly a medical coma, but definitely relaxed enough that he doesn't want to be up and around, because currently being up and around and increasing his heart rate is going to push whatever is in that wound closer and closer to his heart. And that's not what Doc wants.
Likely not. I suppose I would ask then, Lillian, how are you dealing with Jack being so hurt?
I'm probably, I had gone and changed into a different pair of clothes and everything. So I'm probably trying to play nurse to Jack and the doctor, because I think the doctor's still pretty out of it too from the transfusion, correct?
He's probably a little lightheaded, yeah.
So
Doc takes frequent breaks leaning on things.
So yeah, that's what I would be doing. Getting like washcloths, trying to help rebandage Jack's wound, or having somebody else do it. That's not me. Getting water, and I think I said water.
Yeah, I mean,
food.
Systematically speaking, Jack's had a medicine roll, right? And so this is sort of the difficult part is that with a medicine roll, that's what you get. The rest is healing. And that takes time. Unless there are other methods used. But the boat churns along. The pilot from New China who came over to properly drive the Dark Mistress is looking at some of the plans that are laid out, and Mr. Drummond, you can tell that he's making adjustments to course, and he does mention to you that there is some pretty heavy weather that seems like it may be approaching. He can see it. He points it out across the windows of the bridge. You can see. And then he asks you if you've ever been to where you're going.
No.
Okay. So he runs his hand over the map that you'd found in the warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And he marks on the map here, just sort of with his finger, that there seems to be a lagoon or some sort of atoll that is around this island.
So the island has like a bay, or
No. He takes a separate piece of paper and he draws a circle where the island, in reference to the island,
Mhm.
and he explains in graphics that some islands have atolls, smaller reefs that surround them,
Mhm.
and that they act as a visual barrier. So one couldn't see what was going on the island until you're past these smaller rings of like sandbars.
Yeah. Part of me wishes we could just find a way to just like disable all their boats and leave them stranded on the island. Because part of me does really not want to go into enemy territory where we can't even see where we're going. But on the other hand, I'm not running this sea cruise.
Who is running the sea cruise?
Well, I assume the guy in the bed with the hole in his shoulder.
Well, it's more of my lower back, but that's fine.
You're all shoulders, Jack. Don't lie. There's just a head and shoulders and then feet.
So, Sam, from your position above, well, on top of the bridge section, you get to sort of see wide. There's definitely a ring or some sort of collection of darker clouds that are coming your way. It's going to bring some sort of rain, maybe a storm.
I'm going to act under the impression that it's natural, because to do otherwise would really just make my heart race more than I want it to right now.
Fair enough. So in the next hour or so, the storm arrives.
Why is it every time we're on a boat, there's a storm?
Maybe it's poetry. I'm going to make a pilot roll for the person driving your ship. The first pain for you, Jack, comes when the waves get heavy and you start to feel the churn of the ocean way more than you used to. And you sort of get a little bit off balance, and then you get really off balance and you can feel the ship begin to roll on these waves. Sam, you're basically forced to take cover.
Oh, I would before it starts raining. I'm going to definitely come down and get inside. I'm not looking to be out there when the storm hits.
Okay, Miss O'Shea, what are you up to?
I don't know. Probably resting as much as possible, so that I can be well rested for the fight to come that I assume is going to happen.
All right, makes sense. Sam, I know that this will break up your a little bit of your research session, but it won't prevent you from learning the spell that you were after.
Yeah, this is the next day, right? This is already well into the. Yeah,
this is the next.
I was assuming I was done.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, I'll definitely check on everybody, see how everybody's been doing in my stead, see what they've been up to, how they've been biding their time.
I guess just based on the impressions, people seem to be very concerned about Jack. He does not look well when you check on him.
Jack, I don't know if there's an island boarding plan quite yet. I'm not going to ask you to think about one now, but I know they're going to ask at some point.
I will do my best. How does that work for you?
I was just trying to get a read on maybe what we should tell people, or if we're going to tell them anything.
I suppose we should come up with something, huh?
You rest.
Okay, you're a good guy. Good guy.
You're really drugged up, aren't you?
Listen, Dr. Totmock doesn't play when it comes to pain meds, right?
He prescribes them liberally.
Right.
Yup. There's a certain bar he has to set. So
In about 30 years, he'll be providing those drugs to Elvis.
hells yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
I guess the only other thing I'll check on is to see whether the boarding party has anything resembling a map of the island or what they can tell us about it.
Oh, I mean, if you check in on the bridge, you see that the acting captain, the pilot of the ship, is referencing a map It looks like the same map that Mr. Drummond took from the warehouse. There's another map here too, and he seems to be checking back and forth between the two.
Evening.
He nods.
How far do you think we are from the island?
With this storm, it could be hours. We'll have to pick a way through the ring first.
What are you looking at there?
He looks over at you.
It's the maps.
He's busily trying to drive the ship through a storm.
Oh, I just go look at the maps then.
You trying to backseat drive me here? What do you want?
Oh, no. If he's obviously occupied by steering and he's kind of alone in here, I didn't know if there was a navigator working as well. Then yeah, I'll just go over to the maps and take a look at what I can see.
Okay. Yeah. You see a wide blue tinted nautical map. It has a lot of, here there be dragons on it. No, I'm kidding.
I look, okay, well, I avoid that place.
Right. Well, unfortunately, that seems to be where you're going.
Oh, okay. I look for something resembling an island that fits the description of what they were describing.
You see the plotted course that this man has made, and it seems to be directed towards a very specific island, which on one of the maps is called Grey Dragon Island.
Also, they weren't kidding. Here, there, in fact, be dragons.
He confides in you that the Japanese Navy doesn't have any record of this island.
Hope it's an oversight, eh?
There are many, many islands in the sea. We do not know where this one comes from or who claims it.
I got a pretty good idea who claims it. I don't think it's any country.
With the firepower we have, we're going to hit that island hard and fast.
You can definitely expect to see more or worse than the things that were on the ship when you all came aboard.
We're ready, he says with a really grim tone in his voice.
I feel safer in this on the bridge right now. I think I'm going to sit down here and take out my book, and I will make some island map notes. I'm sure it's not like horribly detailed, but I try to get an understanding as to where, like, what the shoreline looks like, and if there's anything I can, if there's anything I can digest from the map itself.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is not very detailed at all. There is a general shape.
It's okay. That general shape, I'm paying close attention to.
Kind of looks like a cashew,
Nice.
roughly speaking. But it does seem to be on the lower end of the island, sort of the southern portion of it, there does seem to be something that is built up. Like there's some etching that's been done. And then right in the center of that etching, there seems to be a circle.
That looks important. I said that looks important.
Oh. Could be a volcano.
A what?
A volcano?
Of course. Why wouldn't there be a volcano?
Well, the islands of South Pacific are filled with them.
I can't say I spent a lot of time out here.
Well, hopefully it's not active.
Yeah, I marinate on that. It's like, I kind of hope it is. And it kind of like solves the problem for us before we get there.
All right, so we're going to look in on Stazi as she is recovering inside the hideout that Jack Brady used. But as we do so, we're going to give her a bit of a moment to wake up. And so, Heather, as you, a bit bleary-eyed, a little bit head-ringing still, sort of come to consciousness, Stazi wakes to the world that is still a little echoey around her. You get the feeling that you're missing something. There's this immediate sense of loss. And the loss is not a physical one, it's an ephemeral one. It's time. You remember the creature in the pool. You remember hurtling towards it with that torch in hopes of just burning it in some righteous fashion. And you remember getting swallowed whole by this gaping maw of multifaceted teeth and other tendrils that came out and eagerly grabbed at you. You have some distant memory of pulling something pulling at your throat. And then the rest of the world faded not to darkness, but to an extreme burst of light. And your body fell weightless into water. And that's the last thing you remember before waking up on a sort of Spartan cot in a room that you've seen before. You think you maybe slept here once. You hear sort of a din upstairs of maybe a restaurant or some sort of family eating area. This is the hideout that Jack Brady used. At least you think.
I think part of me is almost disappointed that I woke up, because it had been so long since I had felt real peace. And for just the moment as I wake up and I try desperately, my mind desperately tries to cling to that warmth, that light, peaceful feeling. No struggle, no pain, no loss. I miss that. The embrace from love, from everything that I had to give up. But the mission's not done. And there's still so much of this world that I need to be a part of. So, as I open my eyes and practice a little radical acceptance to the fact that it seems that yet again I have skirted death, and I try to take in and orient myself to the present, figure out where I'm at, the state of my body, my injuries, my mind, see if I can take some mental stock of my being, if I'm still at least somewhat still in my right mind after that experience.
It definitely takes you a little time just to physically orient yourself with your own hands. You almost have it almost feels like this isn't your body for maybe a full minute. You sort of feel like an other here, trapped in this form that aches. Your hip, your shoulder. You can see the lines of something that crossed on your collarbone. It sort of traces its way down through your clavicle down towards your breast. There's a bandage over it, and you feel some very sensitive skin. It smells like the doctor's bag in here, which brings about a series of revelationary thoughts about what you may have been through. But the sound of the room itself is broken just slightly by a very soft knock on the bamboo door that sits 10 feet or so to your right.
Yes.
There's a creak from that door, and you see a fairly simply dressed scholar, Moo, enter the room with a very small tray. You see tea in his hand on that tray, and he moves very carefully towards a bedside table there and sets it down. And even before he gets within physical proximity to you, you can smell the flavor of the tea as it enters the room. It hasn't been added yet, obviously, but your senses are on fire, grasping for as much information as they possibly can get. He sets it down next to the bed and takes a slight step back and observes you for a moment.
It seems that I still am a part of the land of the living for the moment. Where are the others?
They left an hour or so ago.
To the island, I'm assuming.
Headed to the Bund to collect a boat, I believe.
That makes sense. Is there anything beyond the leaves in that tea?
Perhaps. Should you be willing and able to drink it, perhaps there is wisdom in there.
I hope that wisdom also starts with a W and ends with a Y and whiskey in the middle. But I think as parched as I'm feeling will be whatever it is most agreeable. Thank you.
Of course.
And I will struggle a little, but try to sit up just a touch.
It takes you a little time, but you do manage to sit up a little. Once you sit up, Moo moves and takes the tray and folds it over so that way you can utilize it from your new position.
I was a fan of breakfast in bed. Thank you for continuing that luxury.
Certainly. There are very few luxuries we have in this life.
That is true. Especially in this line of work. I take a sip of the tea.
It's very good. It's been well prepared. The water is hot, but not too hot. It's enough to wake you a little, which, dependent upon your viewpoint, could be less than advantageous because it sort of wakes your body up and reminds you that you have thigh muscles and leg muscles, and you have all muscles in your back. Way too many muscles in your back.
I honestly thought I was going to be that beast's next meal.
Beast?
Well, needless to say, once again, been rudely introduced to those things that creep in the night, or in this case, in the water, not of this world. Let's just say it was not pleasant.
You have been asleep for several hours now.
Is that all? I honestly thought it might be a few days, but
12 to 14.
Considering how little sleep we've been getting lately, I guess I should be grateful. Though, I think I could really use a massage from very strong and skilled hands. Oh, God.
I cannot assist you with a massage, but I do have some liniments that might be able to assist your muscle recovery.
And at this point, I will gladly take them because I'm not going to be able to do anything quite in this state.
After tea, of course.
Of course.
He goes to the foot of the bed and brings up a very small table and begins taking a couple of objects out of his robes, sets them out. He lights some sort of incense and begins. The best example would be he's making some sort of concoction. I understand that Ho Fang's estate was full of surprises.
There were more than a few, but let's just say that they all paled in comparison to the creature in the lagoon.
It is my understanding the estate is, even now, still burning.
We do not do anything small, that is for sure. And it's almost tradition at this point. It actually yes, I will say that will bring a smile to my face. Why not?
He smells citrus, like a burst of citrus from the end of the table with whatever he's working with.
Oh, no, that smells like my scent. I don't know what it is, but that is definitely already helping.
Some minor incantation I learned several years ago.
So everybody made it? Everybody lives?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Good. That is good news. A shower and some fresh clothes would do for a girl right now.
I can provide both.
That would be good. I need to get to them.
Indeed. May I offer a word of caution?
Well, you have a captive audience.
It has become clear to me that the group's ends are willing to go to the ends of the earth for this goal they wish to accomplish. The stopping of the bloated woman, Ho Fang, this Penhu character.
Some are more determined than others, but yes, it does seem to be that way.
Be careful that you do not sacrifice yourself too easily.
I have already sacrificed myself multiple times over. This incarnation of myself, she is, for the now, I'm guessing you actually mean shirking off this mortal coil. Believe me, I truly, even though my recent actions may speak otherwise, have no intention of passing beyond the veil. I have seen some of the things from that and have no compunction in joining them anytime soon. But I have lived a number of lives in my own way. Lives come and go. Living is different. The physical presence of being on this spinning rock, that is one thing. But truly being alive, being whole, that is something completely different. And one can always find another life. When one ends, another always begins.
How interesting. You see, this city is going through sort of a death. And even now, a death of the old, a birth of the new. This will continue, of course, although the scene will become even more chaotic.
It always gets worse before it gets better. Whatever it is, every life goes through growing pains, as hellish as they can be, before coming out the other side, new, clean, fresh, raw, but the raw parts toughen up over time, and life begins again. We are but phoenixes, especially when you give yourself over to doing this type of work. It's the only way to truly survive. It's the only way to truly live. And this city, well, so many before it fall and rebuild themselves anew. To be honest, I'm really curious to see how it goes, what comes of it, because usually what comes out of the ruins is so beautiful. Listen to me, waxing on. Oh, I must have, those digestive juices or whatever was inside that damn beast must have rattled my brain.
It does sound like you could use that shower sooner rather than later. So here is what I will do. He sort of turns this strange tin towards you. There is a liniment here that I have prepared. After your shower, use it sparingly. It will do its best work when not overused. And then after that, I believe there was a warehouse that you and your group worked at liberating recently.
Yes, we had to clean it up a little bit.
It's my understanding that they were searching for a very specific ship. Perhaps if you investigate the spot, you may still catch them. I don't know how long. it would take them to take over the ship, but it's not impossible.
Well, if not, I'm sure I can find a way to flank them on the other side. But for now, this delicious tea. Let's finish this, take a shower, use your wonderful concoction, get myself a fresh pair of clothes, and make myself much more presentable than I'm sure I am right now. I will examine to see exactly what's left of this physical form for me to work with. And then it's time for the next step.
You'll shower. The clean clothes that they have here for you are mostly like green army fatigues.
Yeah.
But they're clean.
They're clean. They fit generally.
Yeah.
Some kind of general form. They'll be fine.
So you'll heal 6 hit points.
Ooh.
From the liniment that Moo prepares for you.
I will use it sparingly, and then I will find a way to pocket the rest and bring it with, because this is nice. And I smell all citrusy, too.
You do. You do smell a little citrusy. It has a total of 3 uses. You use 1 on yourself. It is essentially an early and somewhat mystical form of Bengay. And then you'll be off at that point out the door to track your compatriots down.
I look around, check to see what kind of weapons, because I'm sure I lost pretty much everything in the encounter.
Yeah, the big blade that you had is gone. Any sort of additional weaponry you would have had, like your smaller knife and stuff like that, probably also gone. There are an array of weapons here, whether they be combat knives all the way through pistols, rifles. That's about where things end at. So you could easily appropriate yourself some new hardware, and we can get you outfitted with whatever choices that you decide to make.
Okay. So I'm sure there's a straight razor in the bathroom, so that will definitely come with me because she has to have that. I'll have to see. I'll probably pick up a couple of combat knives. She's not much on pistols, but I think is there a small one?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. So I will grab a small pistol.
Yeah, you pocket a 38 caliber pistol.
Make do with what you got.
Right. And then you'll head out from there towards the Bund.
Yep, as long as I make sure I can still move fairly stealthily. And I will go back into the room and thank Moo.
Mm-hmm. He tells you that he's leaving. He's going to be going to a secure place here in the city. The hideout here, he is worried, is under watch. There's been a lot of travel in and out, and Jack's newest friends from New China haven't necessarily been as quiet as he would prefer.
Stay safe, and thank you.
You as well.
Oh, well, what's the fun in that? Give him that Stazi smile, and I'll head out.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. The investigators are getting an opportunity, given the storm, which seems to be slowing them, and the not so great piloting role which is made. They will end up getting another night of rest before arriving at the space where, or we'll just say the landing point for where Grey Dragon Island is. So, Jack, I'm going to have you roll con for me.
It was 24 under 50.
Okay. That's a hard success. Very good. So you heal your normal hit points, which is 2. And everyone else obviously can heal 2 hit points as well.
Of course, our MP is full by this point, I would assume.
Unless you've been spending it, yeah.
Well, no, yes. Actually, I've been concentrating just to make Jack's wound worse, just to see if it was possible.
I'm
dumping a lot of MP into that. I mean, something else.
Interesting. So I am going to spend an Empowered Hand of Fate Jack, I'm going to heal you for 9 hit points.
Ooh. Wow, look at me. I just bounced right back.
Well, I don't know about that. You got way more than 9 hit points. So here's how that's going to play out. Doctor, you check on your patient early in the morning. I use morning as a relative term because it's likely like 4:30 maybe. It's hard to tell down here.
Dr. Morning.
That's correct. And when you check on the patient, you realize that a large portion of his harpoon wound has seemingly shrunk. And the leftover portions of it, there's a pattern on the outside of his skin. It's circular. It's a strange pattern, one you're not familiar with.
Before Jack fully wakes up, Doc examines it, sketches it in the journal.
You have some time. You definitely have some time to examine it. It's fairly irregular. It's not a perfect circle by any means. And there are small little portions of Jack's skin that have been sort of supplemented by the marking here.
Okay. Does it look more like a growth or more like an etching?
If you didn't know any better, it would look like an etching.
Okay. Well, Doc knows just enough on this long trip so far to know that he knows very little, actually. So he's going to watch, under the guise of course, tending to Jack's wound. He's going to be paying extra close attention to that portion of it, taking many notes.
Jack, you wake up to the doctor, checking over your wound. And as soon as you wake up, you are hungry. Like you feel your stomach turn because acid is hitting your esophagus.
Yeah. Doctor, I could really use something to eat.
I can imagine, Jack, your metabolism is working in overdrive right now, so I would definitely say that you probably should have something to eat.
Yeah.
You stay here. I will go get something, all right?
I'm feeling so much better.
I imagine you are. You slowly take your time, and I will go get you some food. I'll be right back.
And Doc goes to just rummages through Lillian's stuff and takes what he wants. No, he goes to I imagine there's some sort of mess or pantry on the ship.
Okay, you come away with a shawl, maybe a bra.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess it's delicates soup for Jack. Let's go. Yeah, I head to the pantry and look for, they probably have some sort of basic rations here. I try to avoid salt pork and such, but some biscuits, some dried fruit, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack, you get your grubby mitts on some food. And you begin to hear, as you're eating, you can sort of hear, you can hear yourself eat. I don't know if you probably have. Imagine like eating something with headphones on. Mm-hmm. You hear the internal noise of yourself eating. And there's almost like you feel your heart begin to beat faster. You're feeling something that you normally feel when you're in a shootout or when you're chasing somebody. There's like an anxiety level that's being raised inside of you, and your blood pressure's going up. You feel really good eating, and you feel like you need to continue to do that. Like the food that's in front of you, you've already consumed, and you need to eat more.
I'll get up and go to the pantry or the galley, I guess.
Yeah. You go upstairs to where they were eating at one point in time. And there are all these, there's a larder essentially with their food stocks. And when you open it, you see that most of that is filled with raw fish. And they have aboard here some sort of salt and ice preparatory to keep it from spoiling. And you are overcome with the need to eat. And you just immediately dive in, hand first, and grab a piece of raw tuna. And chomp down on it. You get past the pain in your own mouth as you consume this piece of fish with just a murderous intent.
Are there cooking stuff here, like pans and stuff like that?
There is a small galley stove that's over here that's sort of near the bridge area. It doesn't look like it's been used very much.
Right. Well, I'll see if I can, while I'm eating raw fish, if I can cook some fish, because it'll probably taste better.
You go over to the stove and you start trying to, get things set up, and you get a pan out, and then you're pushing stuff over the side. And Doctor, you're hearing this from upstairs. You're hearing like the clattering of pans, and
Doc makes his way down to the pantry to watch Jack go. He wants to continue examining the patient because he's been exposed to multiple levels of things that Doc has no idea how could affect him, and so he's watching fairly closely.
Yeah, your patient is ravenous, Doctor, and you can see with one hand he's got this piece of tuna which has not been descaled or filleted in any way, which has an enormous bite out of it. And with the other hand, he's flailing with a pan trying to get the stove started. And the problem you're having, Jack, is like the stove seems terribly inconsequential. Like it's, you should cook this, but cooking it is just getting in the way.
All right, fine. I'll give up and I'll start tearing open the fish so I can get at the juicy meat inside.
You do so.
Doc steps into the doorway of the kitchen galley area.
It is culturally absolutely fine to eat the raw fish in many places, Jack. Yeah.
More food.
Enjoy.
He does. And you turn away a little bit because the doctor's presence, while helpful, is also a hindrance to your focus on the meal.
Mm-hmm.
And so you sort of turn away and walk a little bit, just 5 or so feet away, to be at peace and to eat. And you eat and eat. And this enormous tuna, you eat all of the meat out of it. You leave the guts just laying on the floor because you're not interested in them. And then eventually you sort of half absent-mindedly throw the head into this bucket, which seems perfect for it because there are a bunch of heads there anyway. And you end up at the end of that entranceway that at one point Mr. Drummond had barricaded. You end up there staring out into the ocean, and you sort of lose yourself in the waves. So anyway, the rest of you begin to wake up slowly but surely. You are sated, by the way, Jack.
Oh, good.
Has the storm passed?
The storm has passed upon waking. You smell a little fishy, by the way, Jack, just to FYI.
Mm-hmm. I'll probably go clean up and have a cigarette because I haven't had a cigarette in a day or so.
That's true. You got to re-energize the T-zone.
Right.
You wake up, Lillian.
I do wake up. That's good. It's better than not waking. And I had fallen asleep in one of the chairs in the very opulent bedroom.
Yes, downstairs.
Yep. I was going to say in the basement, but this isn't the basement. And then I see that Jack's missing.
You do. Jack's missing. The bed, which is partially bloodied, is missing. The doctor is missing.
Maybe we'll find the doctor. I'm not worried about that.
Wow.
Damn. Doc, by the way, has put on some coffee and is just tidying up the kitchen. It looks a mess.
So I go looking for Jack. See where the hell he wandered off to.
He's upstairs. He's in the area that the previous owners of the boat were using as sort of like their communal areas where you had the firefight and where Jack was unfortunately harpooned. He is at the end near the entrance where where you would make your way onto the back of the ship, and he's sort of staring out, having a cigarette, just seemingly enjoying the ocean after a storm has passed.
Jack, you're awake?
Yeah. I feel a lot better. I feel really good.
Man, Doctor's blood transfusion must have worked wonders. Do you think you should really be out of bed? Because you were like knocking on death's door yesterday.
Yeah, to be honest, I really thought this was it. But no, I needed food.
Did you get food?
Oh, yeah, I got food.
Well, good. Do you need anything? I'm gonna go find the doctor.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Does he seem a little off to me?
You can make a psychology roll.
That'll be great. Psychology it like I can do first aid, apparently. I got a 79 out of 10. That'll be I'll just take the fail.
Yeah, I would assume you wouldn't push that. Does he seemed like someone who's been through a traumatic event, and I suppose and I don't want to presuppose your own thought pattern, but I would say if you knew that somebody was sick in bed and the next day they were up and about and they said they felt better, you would probably accept it on its face.
Yeah. Well, I feel a little responsible for his condition that he was in. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. I wish I could have helped more.
No, you were wonderful.
Just kind of look at him and
Hey, you ever noticed how beautiful the ocean is?
he said something with like a word in it that sounded like feelings. Lillian's. Yeah, no, I love being out on the water.
Hey, I never really asked before, but you said something back in Shanghai that maybe I should know. You had said something about how you were interested in somebody. Do you have a man, Bo, or a fellow back home?
So Lillian, like, it's kind of, I flush up. I blush. Like, because it kind of caught me off guard. I don't have a fellow back home or anywhere else, apparently. And I turn around and leave and go find the doctor.
That was a mic drop moment there.
Right. Wow.
Okay. She doesn't need a bow. After all, she has Madam Lynn. So,
Right.
Anyway.
Well, I'm going to also find Jack moving around, and I'm just going to come up. Oh, you're looking better.
Yes, I am feeling better.
Well, good, because we could use your help.
Yes, we're gonna get there.
He said in a while, few hours, but I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Then I guess we better come up with a plan.
Well, here's the problem. So it's a giant honking island with a ring of reefs around it. So we'll basically be going in completely blind.
Yeah. So like usual.
I just throw up my hands at that point. I just exit the room. I can't.
Very well. A couple of hours pass.
Is that little boat still tied up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
You get alerted, Jack, that you're coming up on the island.
Would it be easier if we took the little boat and at least try to guide you through the reefs?
Oh, you see the pilot is sort of trimming back on the engine speed, and you see the new China boat, the one with the deck gun, come up a little alongside, and then you start hearing shouting back and forth in a language you don't understand. The pilot comes back in and says, they want to take the wide approach. They want to go around. They're a little concerned that we might get spotted.
I'll go get my field glasses, see if I can see anything from the deck, the front of the boat.
Okay.
The bow.
You can totally do that if you would like.
46 under 99.
So at this range, what it appears anyway is that there are two large portions of landmass that appear to be stretching out on the horizon. You can see deeper in with the field glasses that there is an island in the middle of all of this. There seems to be one very, very obvious way in. And it looks like, at least if that's what they're referring to, it looks like the folks from New China are a little wary of taking the obvious door. They want to, and you can tell that the pilot is beginning to essentially turn left and to begin to skirt the outside of this reef that is growing in the distance. But it does give you a really good look as you pass through or pass by the opening of the island closer in. The island is probably no more than a couple miles wide, give or take. But you begin to see this mountain grow out of the horizon. And you can see that it's black and dark. And that there are just the smallest of smoke trails that come out of the top of it.
Okay.
Yep.
I go back to the pilot. Why don't you hold up here a minute? Just hold up.
He slows the boat and...
I'm going to go get everybody together.
Okay. You gather ye rosebuds.
Okay, it looks like New China wants to go around the other side of the island. If they can see us from the island, they're going to shift whatever defenses they have to follow the ships. Right? Reasonable?
Yeah.
Assuming they even bothered to defend.
Right. Again, I say we take that little boat we took out here and we go into the lagoon. We'll be a lot smaller profile. We might be able to slip in.
I think it is a sound plan.
It is, but I also don't know if we should be going in by ourselves without them.
Well, like I said, New China is going to go around the other side. They're probably going to faster us. They might actually even land before we do.
Oh, that's true.
I think the point would be to wait until they do.
Right.
I'm in.
All right. So let's get whatever we need, and then we'll transfer into the boat.
I would just say this. Why don't you make for me a natural world roll?
Oh. This will be well. This will be good. Yeah. No.
You're going to wish I saved that in Power Hand of Fate, huh? Yeah. So, okay.
I mean, I know it's not going to be easy to row that boat into the lagoon.
Nope, that's very true. Yeah, you can get into the fishing boat. I would just say that it does not take a rocket scientist. See what I did there? To observe the fact that the rowing to get there will be long and arduous.
Actually, I have a thought before while he's fussing about that.
I'm telling Jack that because he would have spent time looking at the makeup. You're talking about an effort, a serious effort.
I was thinking about maybe having the ship get us closer in the shore.
Well, that's the trouble. See, so if this boat, the Dark Mistress, goes into this opening, it's going to take them an effort to turn around. Remember also that they're a diesel ship, which means that they have their own smokestack, which makes smoke, which is seeable.
I don't want them to get into the lagoon as much as I want them to get near the entrance to the lagoon. Mm-hmm. Because at that point we can row in and then even angle over to the side, not go all the way through.
Does this boat have a longboat?
Yes, it sure does. Like a traditional one, you bet. Actually, it has two of them.
Oh, does it have a motor on it?
One of them does.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you list that in our...
You didn't ask for a list of assets.
Yeah, we'll use that. That make a lot more sense.
So the plan then, if I'm hearing this right, is that the investigators are going to pile into a longboat, the one with the small engine,
mm-hmm.
and then they are going to make their way into the lagoon,
mm-hmm.
and they're going to attempt to
Land.
infiltrate.
Land somewhere
Yeah.
on the island. Fantastic. I love that idea.
Could we maybe see if we could get one person from New China to guide the boat? Since none of us are really great at open water sailing.
You could attempt to discuss this with New China. It would be an opportune idea given the fact that they're so close. At least the other boat is at the moment. The pilot indicates that they have attuned to the radios here from boat to boat. So if
Okay. Yeah, I'll discuss it with the pilot.
get on the radio and
Since I can speak Cantonese, I can at least communicate with everyone.
in English, he says, "You want to talk to Brady?"
Yeah, that'll work.
He hands you the radio.
I guess it only makes sense they would send over somebody who could speak English.
Yeah.
Dark Mistress to Jack Brady.
You hear the radio fuzz for a second. You hear Brady's voice. What are we waiting for, Doyle?
We're going to go into the lagoon on one of the longboats. You have somebody over there who can pilot it?
Wait, you on a sail?
No, why would I know how to sail? I was in the Army, not the Navy.
Well, I was a Marine. We learned fucking everything.
Yeah, but not how to tie your shoes.
Hey, I'm the one that brought the deck gun.
Yeah, okay.
Listen, this is our plan. And I say this, he sort of, you can hear him step around like a corner. I say this in all truth. The boys here are a little itchy. So their plan is to, shove this boat up somebody's ass and start firing.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
They came for the action.
Right.
But as far as sparing a pilot, yeah, I got a guy.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. I'll send him over. They come over. It takes probably 10 minutes or so. They help assist getting the longboat into the water and then get things set up.
So while all of the conversing is going on, I am assembling our material and placing it in the longboat and just kind of taking stock at everything and just making sure that, nothing is broken, damaged, waterlogged, awful,
Things are awful.
Where the clamp, everything's awful anyway. I just mean as far as the state of affairs of gear that I'm loading into the longboat. How are we doing?
You, I suppose, are fine. You haven't really, none of the equipment you have has been damaged. You have supplies as far as ammunition, things that you've picked up.
Okay.
You can likely strip the mistress a little bit of some of the ration food they have. There's not much here. Most of it is fish, which, again, doesn't seem to be a problem for some of you. Others of you might not want to eat fish just because, it's a little played out at this point. That said, it's going to be a pretty packed longboat. And if something happens to you all in the water there, things will get interesting.
Well, let's hope it doesn't happen. That's why we have a professional.
Right.
So what's our extract point?
Extract? I guess we're going to be on the other side of the island where the ships are. Or we come back to the longboat.
You're assuming Jack Brady waits for us.
Well, let's hope.
Okay. You all pile into the longboat. And then your new pilot helps cast off. It is a rather anxious moment because you descend the 10 or 15 feet from the side of the mistress into the water. And then the tiny engine kicks up and he begins pushing forward towards the lagoon. And as you break the plane, I guess, of the lagoon opening, you can feel the water calm a little bit. There's just not as much movement inside the lagoon. And you get a real first-hand look here. We'll say it's overcast today at the space. In this little lagoon, you see the main island, which is sort of near the south of the lagoon itself. To your immediate right, there's a small sandbar. It's probably a couple 100 feet wide. There are some tiny pieces of vegetation on it. There's another one deeper in that is almost looks like a shoehorn. There's a curve just at one portion of it, and it seems to have a little bit more vegetation visually. But you begin picking out here that a lot of the vegetation inside this space is dark. It is not well.
Sickly.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out the field glasses and scan the interior.
Okay.
Looking for individuals. I hesitate to say people.
As far as people go or individuals therein, at this range, you're not seeing anyone. You see a couple places you could land, at least from here, if you head directly towards the island. But realistically, you're going to have to make a couple of decisions as far as what you want to do, because the rest of this lagoon is open water.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the lagoon width is probably 7 to 8 miles, give or take. You can see some of the reefs that have built up along the edge that make up this lagoon area, but then they eventually get lost in the horizon. The biggest visual predominance is the volcano, obviously. And that's sort of on display for everyone to see. And all of you now that you're in the lagoon, can make out that there is some sort of steam or smoke that comes out of the middle of it. It's not churning by any means. It's not massively active, but there is a waft of smoke that continues unerringly out of it.
How many, I guess, harpoons could I have realistically salvaged from the mistress?
Probably 2 or 3.
And watching the water.
Oh, sure. That is totally reasonable. The water here is dark, by the way. There's an awful lot of fish on display, even in the darkness of the water. Tropical fish.
They can live.
So where are you headed then?
I don't want to go directly to the back of the lagoon, like towards the volcano, because I'm guessing that's probably, if there was any group of people watching, they'd be there. So maybe try to angle off to the side.
Okay. So where are you telling the pilot to go?
To the right.
Hey, go that way. Hey, go that way.
I'm sorry, starboard.
Yeah.
I know.
You point. He's like, okay, sure. He begins moving off in that direction. About 10 or so minutes pass. And you can hear from in the distance somewhere, you begin to hear strange sound. It's almost as if there's a choir or a pipe organ that's playing. It's a dissonant tone for sure, but it's out there. The pilot looks a little unnerved.
Not a music fan?
I'll keep scanning with the glasses.
Go ahead and make me a hard spot hidden roll.
40 under 99.
You see something. It's not what you were expecting, though. The thing that you make out immediately, Jack, is you make out that on the far side of the lagoon, you make out just through the reef area, you make out a boat. And you think it's Brady's boat. They are going around.
Okay, yeah.
And it looks like they're going around at speed.
Can we see the smoke from their stacks?
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be any mistaking that gun.
Yeah.
The pilot of your longboat turns to you. Where am I going?
Directly to the island.
Okay.
I just didn't want to go, from the break right in.
All right. He turns the longboat. You all sort of shift a bit in your seats there as he turns quickly, and he begins to head in closer and closer. It takes about another 10 to 15 minutes, and you reach the tip of the island here. As you get closer to the island, you begin to see the outline of other portions. First of all, the main portion of the island is under a tree canopy. Right? So there is this sort of tropical canopy that exists on many islands here. The lower portion of the island that you will eventually land at, is gray and black. The sand is dark. The vegetation is dead. And even some of the reef itself seems to have died, at least along the edges of the island. And there are strange fumes and gases, it's the best way to explain it, that filter up through the water as you get closer.
Good. Okay, so everybody, when we land, get ready to move.
As the pilot gets close to the landing portion, you can hear something rubbing on the bottom of the boat. You start hearing things interact with the bottom of the boat.
Like reefs or something.
It could be.
Yeah, hopefully.
It could be. It could be a piece of the reef. It could be, who knows?
I will head toward the, what's the back? Is that the, I don't know what the back is. The back of the ship.
Aft.
Aft, yes. I will go aft, and using my torch, I'll take a look into the water from behind us.
Mm-hmm.
To see if there's what I can see, like trailing behind us, or what we're passing over that seems to be interacting with us.
It looks like pieces of the reef are beginning to interact with the bottom of that boat, and they're actually scraping the bottom of the boat.
How deep is the water here?
It's hard to say. The water's dark. That's the problem.
I will grab one of the harpoons, and in my best impression of a guy on the Mississippi River, start poling, taking depths as we go.
Yeah, it's probably more than 7 to 8 feet at this point.
I would know that I would stick the harpoon in, and it would just keep going. There wouldn't be any resistance.
Right.
Right. I just have him get us as close as he can.
He pilots it in, and he gets you probably within about 20 feet. Now, there's not a big surge of waves like you would normally see on an ocean island because of the reef. It protects it from all that. So the landing is not this sort of crazy churn pushing you. But he eventually kills the engine and says, we have to be able to get out too.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's going to be maybe 3-4 feet of water you're going to have to get into and then get out.
All right. Well, we have to walk the rest. Wade.
Indeed you will. And you'll end up doing that next time. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Masks of Nyarlathotep. We've reached Grey Dragon Island, for better or for worse. I look forward to seeing all of you back next week.